Hello there and welcome to the first of the revision videos helping you to answer questions from revision sheet 1 if you're studying further maths and revising for your lower 6th January mock exam. Let's get started. So the first question looks for us to multiply together two complex numbers, that's 3 plus 4i and 3 minus I. And the way we're going to approach this is effectively the same as multiplying together two brackets. Multiply everything from the left hand bracket by everything in the right hand bracket. So let's do that. 3 times 3, that gives you 9. 3 times minus I, that gives you minus 3i. 4i times 3, that's plus 12i. And 4i times minus I, that's minus 4i squared. And let's go ahead and simplify this together. So we'll have 9. Simplifying together the minus 3i and the plus 12i, just as you would with algebra, you get minus 9i. And simplifying here, we've got an I squared. Now let's think about what we can do with that I squared. If I is the square root of minus 1, then I squared must equal minus 1. So what we've got here is minus 4 times minus 1. That will create here a real number and a positive number as well, because we've got two negatives here. Minus 4 times minus 1. So that makes a 4. Add that onto the 9 and you get a 13. Add 9i. And that's the answer to part A. 2 marks. Now let's look at part B. Slightly more difficult. Dividing two complex numbers together here. And we've got 4 plus 6i divided by 2 minus I. And the way we're going to do this is we want to convert this into a number that looks a bit like A, some real parts, add B times I, the imaginary part of the complex number, where both A and B are real numbers. So the way we do this is very similar to rationalising the denominator that you learnt in year 11. Now what we want to do is look at the denominator and multiply that denominator by its complex conjugate, or in other words, changing the sign for the imaginary part. So it's 2 plus I, whereas before it was 2 minus I. And to keep the number the same, we don't actually want to change the number, we want to keep the number the same. We'll have to do the same multiplication as we did on the bottom, on the top as well. So what we've got here now is the multiplication of two complex numbers. We'll have 4 plus 6i and 2 plus I. So let's all write that out. So 2 minus I and 2 plus I. So let's expand these brackets. 4 times 2 is 8. 6i add 2 is plus 12i. 4 times I is plus 4i. And 6i times I, that's plus 6i squared. In a bit we'll simplify this and remembering that I squared is minus 1 to change this I squared here. But on the bottom so far we'll have 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times I, that's plus 2i. Minus I times 2, that's minus 2i. And minus I times I, that's minus I squared. So let's have a look at simplifying this. We've got an 8 here. We've got 12i and 4i here, so that makes us a plus 16i here. And here we've got 6 plus 6 times I squared. And I squared is minus 1, we worked that out before. So this is actually going to be a take away 6, a real number of 6. And on the bottom we're going to have a 2i and a minus 2i here, and they will cancel each other out. And when you do this timesing by the complex conjugate on the denominators, that should always happen. You should always be able to eliminate your I components from your denominator when you use this method. And that helps you create a complex number where it's just a plus bi, where you've not got any i's on the denominator. So let's go and simplify this. We've now got a 4 and we've got minus I squared. where I squared is minus 1. So if you think about it, that gives you a minus of minus 1, which will create for you a positive. So hopefully we'll get 5 on the bottom there. We've got 5 on the bottom there. And simplifying the top, we will have 2 from 8 take away 6. That's 2. Add 16i. Now at the moment, it doesn't really look like this a plus bi, but if you think about it, we can split this part up here into its real and imaginary components. It's going to be 2 over 5, add 16 over 5i. And that's your final answer. 2 over 5, add 16 over 5i. 2 marks for that.